What's going on, gentlemen? If you're seeing this video, that means I am on vacation. However, still here to talk about one of the most important crypto events going on in October. And funnily enough, it's going to take most of October to go through. I believe they have 21 trial days scheduled for the Sam Bankman-Fried trial starting on October 3rd, Tuesday of this week. Notably, they're going to be doing jury selection on October 3rd, and then after that, they're going to be actually going into the trial portion with, theoretically, our verdicts coming sometime in the later end of the month. With that said, let's get into a quick timeline on what happened. So, starting off, Sam Bankman-Fried establishes the FTX exchange in late 2018. They finish off their round of investor buy-in with $900 million in investor funding coming in 2021. At this point, they continue on into 2022, where FTX does another $400 million in investor money take in for the FTX US arm of the company. At this point, FTX is actually mainstream and is arguably the largest crypto exchange platform, competing with Binance itself. Later on in 2022, they go and they actually start a habit of buying up defunct crypto DeFi projects, starting off with BlockFi, and then again, they tried to invest in up to nearly 100 other projects that looked like they're about to go belly up. Their last attempt was Voyager Digital, where they offered a partial buyout of the company. However, that bid ultimately failed. November 2nd is where the dam really breaks. At this point, there's a linked balance sheet of FTX's holdings. At this point, we now have to go and talk about Alameda Capital, aka the holding company that FTX is partnered with. The head of Alameda Capital is none other than Sam Bankman-Fried's ex-girlfriend at the time, and through business profiles has been described as more risky than probably needed to be. It's at this point that the world sees that the FTX exchange is really buoyed up by the FTT token that they distribute. The FTT token makes up about 85 to 90% of all of the holdings in Alameda Capital, which has been basically trading money back and forth between FTX and Alameda Capital. And as a result, they've actually been buoying up their own price of the FTT token through market manipulation because they owned so much of the token. At this point, we see Binance actually gets news of this, and on November 8th, I believe, they announced that they're going to do some risk management and they start dumping their holding of the token. Binance at this point holds about 5% of the token, which means that really only about 5 to 10% of the token is on the market. As a result, price plummets, and at this point, FTT basically turns FTX exchange insolvent because they are now underwater on their investment, and a lot of funds have magically gone missing. At this point, Binance actually makes an offer to buy out FTX, but then 2 days later backs out, and shortly after that, Sam Bankman-Fried declares bankruptcy for the exchange. At this point, Congress starts getting word of everything going on and all the shady dealings, so they actually have Sam Bankman-Fried come in and testify before Congress. Shortly after that, the SEC ends up charging Sam Bankman-Fried with about 7 counts of anything from wire fraud, money laundering, and securities fraud. At this point, again, we have our trial starting October 3rd, which should last through the most of the month, and this is going to be a big event in the crypto landscape because there are some key players involved in regulation that got mixed up in this whole thing.
Now it's time for Uncle Zenith to tell you the parts that the globalists don't want you to know.
All right, let's do this. Let's begin things on March 23rd, 2022. Gary Gensler of the SEC allegedly meets with Sam Bankman-Fried and his team to discuss crypto regulations. This is specifically around the time that they were considering buying out defunct crypto projects. There's a tweet from Congressman Tom Emmer where he claims that Gary Gensler and Sam Bankman-Fried are attempting to create some sort of monopoly on the crypto exchange space. So, let's start working on some connections. So that is allegedly the story of how this whole thing fits together between everything from MIT to Congress to the SEC. All right. Starting off, Sam Bankman-Fried's parents. They are notably wealthy elite of Silicon Valley. His mom works with a activist organization called Mind the Gap, and his dad even wrote legislation for Elizabeth Warren, who is notably a Bitcoin hater. Sam Bankman-Fried actively stepped into the political races in 2020 and 2022. He was allegedly Joe Biden's biggest donor by donating $20 to $30 million and then giving $100 million to the midterm elections in 2022. Allegedly, there's a rumor that he even proposed the idea of bribing Donald Trump up to $5 billion not to run for office in 2024. Again, allegedly. I don't know. Anyways, now we go over to Sam Bankman-Fried's girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, who is the CEO of Alameda Capital. Allegedly, she got this position only because she is Sam Bankman-Fried's girlfriend, and she also has connections. So, her dad is actually a professor at MIT, and during Gary Gensler's time at MIT, he was his boss. So there we go. Now we have girlfriend, dad, MIT, SEC. Gary Gensler later goes on to become the head of the SEC, and during his tenure there, he doesn't look too good, because while this whole kerfuffle's going on, we had both the Terra and Celsius collapses, and then also most notably, during the height of the XTF nonsense, he fined the Kardashians $1.26 million for making a video promoting a crypto scheme that was allegedly a fraud, according to the SEC. Anyways, back to the connections. So, there's also a lot of other curious events that go on during the time, like at the FTX Bahama conference, where they even had people like the ex-president Bill Clinton and an ex-prime minister come talk at the conference. Additionally, the World Economic Forum lists FTX as a sponsor at this time. And then we get into possibly one of the weirder and more odd things going on. So, Sam Bankman-Fried tried to propose the idea that he is an everyman because he drives a Honda Accord. However, he is the owner of a $35 million place in the Bahamas that is sometimes referred to as the Orchid Penthouse Commune, where he, his ex-girlfriend, girlfriend at the time, this one, lived with a bunch of their FTX employees. Now, allegedly, I'm going to say that, allegedly, at this time, Sam Bankman-Fried was experimenting with a lot of drugs, specifically designer drugs, uppers and downers, to make him and his employees work as efficiently as they possibly could. Allegedly, he gave courses on how to use the drugs to work super efficiently, and then use sleeping pills and other melatonin things to go to sleep at night. Now, all of this sounds sketchy, but how does it all unravel? Well, we're going to find out. So, it all starts with Sam Bankman-Fried's girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, who I will say, let's put the mugshot up there. Yeah, I'll hold my comments, you can make yours. So, again, allegedly, she got her role as CEO because she was basically just sleeping with Sam Bankman-Fried. Again, allegedly, don't know this stuff. So, she is famously described as having a risk management idea of stacking risk on risk. Most notably, she does not believe in stop losses, aka that thing that prevents you from losing too much money. When pressed on the comment, she actually didn't go into any of the losses, but she claims that it worked because she caught a great crypto pump in 2020 to 2021 with Solana. That was one of the main plays of Alameda Capital, and notably, this is all during the height of the bull market. This is basically the time where you could throw money at anything and it would work as long as it was not one of those two. So, this gets us into how FTX and Alameda Capital is run. We know that they were switching the FTT token between them, and their little conglomeration actually held about 80 to 90% of all FTT tokens. During this time, they were actually using this control to levy up their price, and they wanted even more risk. How do you get more risk? Leverage. That's right, baby. We are borrowing against our own crypto assets. So, at this point, they try to borrow against the FTT token. However, a lot of other decentralized platforms don't want it. So what they do, they buy a lot of their tokens, use their tokens to stake, get leverage, and then go do the whole cycle all over again. One of the most heinous things that they're doing, and they're probably going to get charged with, is they were actually longing and shorting against the FTT token and against their own investors on the platform. That's bad, especially considering you own 80 to 90% of the supply. Whoop. this strategy works very well when you're making money. However, everything fell apart when the bull market came around and things started to collapse very rapidly. Notably, there was the whole Binance situation where their token went down like a rock, and at this point, they were effectively illiquid. They were so illiquid that on their balance sheet, they had 80,000 Bitcoin listed as a liability, while in reality, they held 0. At this point, everything goes to shit, and we are in the position that we are today. Some people say that this whole thing is just a big Ponzi scheme, or big ploy, or a Trojan horse, if you will, to make crypto look bad. This looks pretty bad. Ramifications. Trial coming up. This month of October is going to be Sam Bankman-Fried's big month. So we're going to find out what is going on. Things have not been going well for him before the trial. He was asking to get released before the trial, but that was denied. Allegedly, he also was attempting to witness tamper. Not good. Anyways, this whole thing is a bit of a kerfuffle. This at one point was one of the largest exchanges in the crypto sphere. So to see it go down this poorly and this badly is very odd. One of the big conspiracy theories out here is that this all happened because of the donations that were being made to the government. Notably, the Democrats were in power, and a lot of the donations they were making were going to Democrats. Democrats control Congress and the presidency, therefore, allegedly, they have some say over the SEC. That's why we get back to Gary Gensler here as the guy that is being manipulated by this through this, and has connections to this and this through here. So, ipso facto, Gary Gensler is tied up in this. We're not a big fan of Gary Gensler here, at least at the Tinfoil Studios. So this whole thing could bring to light all the nonsense that was going on, and again, point out how bad he's been at his job, because the Terra and Celsius thing happened under his watch, and when all of this was going on, he was focused on the Kardashians. Like, that's what we got. Again, allegedly. This is all allegedly. We're going to find out in the trial. So, stay tuned.